Yes, guys, hope you're doing well. Welcome to the Game Week 18 live stream. It isn't deadline live stream, but I thought this would be a fantastic opportunity to answer any of your questions on this lovely Wednesday evening from where I'm tuning in. And of course, we've had the big news regarding Dominic Solanke, Bournemouth Luton with that. So we're going to discuss all of those things that you probably need to know about right now. So first and foremost, thank you so much for joining this live stream. As always, if you are new around here and you want to be checking out the other content this month, please do consider becoming a subscriber and always drop a like on the live stream if you are looking forward to today's live stream. So as I mentioned, we need to discuss the Dominic Solanke situation because Premier League have announced some big news. So we're going to touch on that one. And also as well, we also need to touch on the situation with Tom Lockyer. Great news that obviously he is, we think, recovering quite well. So first and foremost, massive good news regarding that, but we also need to discuss the implications for the FPL world. So we're going to touch on all of those things. JP, hope we're doing so well. Cheekster, my friend. Sokhan, is it, I believe? Hope you're doing well. Mohammed, hope you're doing well, my friend. Helen, loads of people in the chat. Get yourself involved. Let me know if you are watching and where you are watching in the world. It'd be awesome to see where everyone's tuning in. So as I mentioned, we've had the huge news regarding the Dominic Solanke situation. So I'm going to update you regarding that. Then we're going to get into any questions that you have going into this Game Week 18 deadline. A reminder, it is this Thursday. A bit of a weird one, 6:30 PM UK time. So we don't have a lot of time to really think about our teams. So let's get straight into it. Cheekster, I do apologise for pushing the live stream back. You know I am a late person in general. I do apologise. Cheeks is saying, considering replacing Alvarez with Richarlison, already have Watkins and Solanke. Thoughts, Nacho? Well, Richarlison's obviously a midfielder in the game, so it'd be interesting to know what direction you're going with that in terms of who you're replacing Alvarez with in the forward department. That's the big thing there. But I do like Richarlison for the few weeks. Oh no, how'd you get the black eye? Football. A lot of people throwing out rumours about how I got it. It is football, so do not worry. Nothing bad happened, just a stray elbow in the game, so absolutely fine. But it's made me think to myself, maybe I'm getting a little bit too old to play. For those that watch the Game Week 39 charity match that we do, maybe that could be my last game. We'll see, because time is ticking with this frail body of mine. Mohammed, should I do Gordon to Richarlison? I would wait and see right now. I don't think you need to do anything tonight. Get a bit of an idea on what the situation is with Gordon. Hopefully we get something from some news outlets like The Athletic. If it sounds good, I'd probably just hold him. Otherwise, Richarlison, I don't mind as an option long term. He looks good in that forward department. Some FPL street cred, yes, exactly that. Thomas is saying, should I take a -4 to not play Taylor? I think the blank game week is one of those where we kind of just play our teams, get by, and then progress into game week 19 and beyond. I think if you can roll your transfer and simply play Charlie Taylor, I would recommend that, because I think there is going to be opportunities to really benefit from having 2 free transfers later down the line. So keep putting your questions in the chat, guys. I'm going to answer them throughout the stream, but I want to come on to the important news right now regarding the situation with the Bournemouth and Luton postponement. So let's get straight into that right now. I've taken the tweet from Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And first and foremost, the Premier League have announced that following the on-field medical emergency involving Luton player Tom Lockyer, the Premier League board have decided that last Saturday's Bournemouth Luton game will be replayed in full later in the season. So there was a lot of talk about what they were going to do. Were they going to play from the 60-minute mark? Were they going to maybe just leave it at a 1-1? So we have official confirmation that the game has been completely abandoned and they're going to be replaying it later on in the year. Now, first and foremost, for those that people are asking, does that mean there's going to be a double game week? We don't really know right now. I would expect it to become a double game week at some point in the season. Both of these don't have European Cup football, so their midweeks are a little bit more freer than other teams. But also we could see it just pushed until the very end of the season. Could we see a game week 39? I don't think so. I do believe this will become a double game week later on, but it is worth noting that these two teams will be of some value to us later down the line, especially Dominic Solanke. So game has been completely abandoned and will be replayed later on in the year. Now, in terms of the fantasy consequences, you will see here that following the announcement that will be replayed, game week 17 will now be closed and the game will update shortly. Points achieved by players in original fixtures will be avoided, so Dominic Solanke is probably the most important one of that. Normal auto subs and vice captain rules apply. So basically, long story short, if you own Dominic Solanke, he is going to be voided down to 0 points. and then your first sub will replace Dominic Solanke in your team. So, for example, let's take my team. You can see I am a Dominic Solanke owner, and they have now voided his points, so he has nothing there. I have Livramento as my first sub, and he will now replace Dominic Solanke in my team. So that is kind of the quick answer as to what is going to happen with a lot of your teams if you're currently sat there with Dominic Solanke. Of course, this is massive luck in FPL. Some managers are getting really lucky, like myself, with a 9-pointer from Livramento. Others are going to have 2-pointers, 1-pointers here and there. The only thing that I will say, which isn't luck, and we've had it for a few weeks now where games have been abandoned or players haven't turned up, it's really important to take a little bit of care in the order that you allocate your bench. I've seen a few managers out there who don't care about their bench, and they probably would have put maybe, let's say, Mabama first and Livramento last on their bench, when we all know that isn't really the way they should have ordered their bench. And in these situations, these very rare situations, you do need your bench to be lined up correctly. So that is the only thing I will say. This is very lucky for those that are getting some sort of jam off the bench like myself, but it is also another note to remember to allocate your bench in the right order for game week. So coming back to the tweet, that is kind of the long and short of it. Dominic Solanke and others, points are going to get voided and auto subs are going to come into place. So let's get through some of the questions in the chat. Then I'm going to show you how my team is looking off the back of that game week 17, now that we officially know how many points we're going to score. And then we'll take a look at my team going forward, as well as some players that I'm targeting for my team. And also, it's worth noting, you may have already seen my transfer plan video. I did make a transfer on Sunday night. It was a rage transfer, but I had to do it. So we'll come on to that in a minute. Let me deep dive into some of the questions that you guys have asked. So let me cover that off. We have got, did I get a scrap in with Mudryk? No, I didn't, JP, but it would have been with Darwin Núñez if I did see him, because I owned him for 4 weeks and he blessed me with about 8 points. So an absolute disaster with Darwin Núñez. Immortal Trent, Nico, we do well. Sell Trent or no? I wouldn't be selling him right now. If you own him, I think he's perfectly fine to keep and hold. I believe he isn't playing tonight either, which is only a good thing in preparation for that game against Arsenal. Look, we're not expecting a clean sheet from him this weekend, but the way that he delivers on the bonus points and in terms of open pay at XGI, I think he's perfectly fine to hold, especially when we have all this money knocking about after selling Erling Haaland in game week 16. Sokhan, is this Sokhan? I do apologise. Tuning in from Finland, that's awesome to see. And also from Serbia, thank you so much for joining in, guys. Luckily, I have voice captain Cole Palmer for game week 17. That is mega points right there. Who do you think is the best replacement for Sanchez? I think someone like a Leno in Fulham is a great pick. Now, if we take a look at the fixtures right now, just to give you a bit of idea on long term, the teams that you want to target from a defensive perspective. So this is over from Fantasy Football Fix, one of the best sites around. Please do check it out. So this is the fixture difficulty for teams over the next 6 game weeks. And you can see Aston Villa have the best defensive fixture. So if you have loads of money knocking about, I do like Martinez. But what I will say is when we do start to bring Haaland back into our teams, you are then stuck with a really expensive goalkeeper. Do you want to go down that kind of structure in your team? That's the only thing you need to ask yourself. But I do like Emi Martinez as a goalkeeper because he is decent also on the bonus points historically. Chelsea Sanchez, you discussed that you have him, and I do think selling him is the right move because it doesn't look like he'll be back until the new year. Petrovic, I think, is a short-term option, but I wouldn't go there because he likely will lose his place once Sanchez does return. So I think Leno is a really good option. We've seen he's brilliant on the bonus points, and he's also picking up a lot of saves, and the fixtures are really good. They're third best for this period over the next 6 games. So Leno is a really good investment. I wouldn't touch Brighton, and Areola right now does have a bit of a question mark. Now, he's starting in tonight's game against Liverpool, but we don't know whether that's good or bad for him. So I would probably say that's an avoid as well regarding Areola until we have some sort of confirmation. Outside of that, Luton, you're not going there. Spurs, I wouldn't really recommend going because I think we all want to go Pedro Porro, and that's probably it. Outside of that, Wolves, not really. Bournemouth, I think Neto at Bournemouth is an okay investment, but I think all of this is pointing towards someone like a Bert Leno at Fulham. I think that's a really good investment if you want to go down that route. Hi, Nacho. Is it worth taking a -4 to replace Taylor or Cash for Trent? If I was looking to sell one of those, I don't really know what's going to happen with Matty Cash. With the absence of Boubacar Kamara, some are saying that That means that Cash isn't going to play because they're just going to stick with their usual back four, Moreno or Digne playing left back, and then Konsa playing as a traditional right back, which reverts into a back three. Doesn't really give a place for Matty Cash. So I probably would just look to sell Matty Cash and accept what will be with him if he was to play this weekend, because it is a great fixture, but you don't really know if he is going to play. So I would sell Matty Cash and leave your fifth defender as a cheap budget enabler like Charlie Taylor. I think long term you will benefit more from that. JP, what are you going to do with Son and Salah value? I need them to drop 0.3, 0.2 to be able to afford them back. Yeah, so I think a lot of people are talking about this because, as we know, Son and Salah are going to the AFCON and Asia Cup respectively in game week 21. So as you can see here on the ticker, Spurs right here, they will leave in game week 21 when they have Man United away, Brentford at home and Everton away. So we're expecting Son to miss those 3 games a minimum. And also with Mohamed Salah, Liverpool are going to be missing, well, Salah's going to miss Bournemouth away, Chelsea at home, Arsenal away. So not bad fixtures to miss, to be honest with you. And even though things like selling them and buying them back is a problem, I think we definitely sell them and we address that issue later down the line when we need to buy them back into our teams. I don't think you can hold somebody who's 13 million and 12 million in your teams long term, because it's just so much money tied up into players that you don't really need over that period because they are literally not in the country. And also, guys, please do let me know in the chat if you are in a situation with the Dominic Solanke news. For those that have just come in, we have got confirmation that Solanke's points are being voided and auto subs are coming into place. Who is your auto sub for Dominic Solanke? Have you got unlucky with a player who has gone big? I've seen some have kudos with that monster haul, so congratulations to anyone that is getting that going into game week 18. That would be absolutely sick. And also, if you are new around here, please do consider smashing that subscribe button and of course dropping a like on the live stream. You legends got us to 11,500 subscribers, which was a bit of a goal. I think 11k was what I set myself at the end of the year, so you guys have already done that, which is amazing. But if you are new around here, I always say, if you can become a subscriber for the next few weeks, that would be amazing. And then if you don't enjoy any of the winter content, you can simply unsubscribe and it is totally not a problem. I won't take any offense from it. I promise I won't come hunt you down. So next up, I want to deep dive into my team. I want to quickly show you what the effect of those Solanke points being voided is doing to my team. And what I really want to recommend as well, if you're sat there thinking, I do not know how this is going to affect my own team, I highly recommend livefpl.net. I'm going to put the link to the site in the comments right now, so please do check that out. If you're a little bit concerned about how your team is going to look with the Solanke news, do check this out now. I've just posted it in the chat. I'm going to bookmark it as well just for a minute. I've just pinned the message as well so you can check it out. Go into there. All you have to do is type in your team ID. And in order to get your team ID, you need to go onto the FPL site, go into the URL, and it'll be a 4, 5, 6 digit number that has been allocated to your team. Type it in and you will get your team pop up similar to myself. Now, as well as the Dominic Solanke situation, also auto subs haven't been incorporated into the game yet because game week 17 was left open. So we're going to see some massive rank swings off the back of this news. And my team is a perfect example of this. So I want to point your eyes here to new post subs, this section here. Previous to the Dominic Solanke news, I was going to be ranked 249,000th in the world. But because Dominic Solanke's points have been voided, and we're also seeing auto subs being incorporated into the game, I've actually seen my rank become a lot better. And it's now going to be 208,000th in the world. So obviously for myself, I'm actually really thankful with the Dominic Solanke news, but I do get it. It is very, very lucky and impossible to predict with this situation. So do not be angry with this situation. It is just one of those very fluke situations, and I do apologize if I have offended anyone with my Livramento points coming in, but this is why the live FPL site is so good. You can see here Dominic Solanke has now got 0 points, and the little emoji there shows that Livramento is going to come in as my first sub. So I will have 69 points, which you can see up here, but I took a -4, which will leave me with a total of 65 points. So all in all, really happy with that game week. It's going to be about a 90,000 green arrow, which again, I'm delighted with. Considering I took a -4 this week, I wasn't really expecting anything massive. So it worked well, but let me know in the comments if you're one of those managers that has got a bit of bench jam this week. You can see also the player that has really hurt me is Ollie Watkins. Of course, he has hurt me. 5 points, 6 points against my squad, which is an absolute killer. So let's go through some of the questions, and then I'll come back to any other bits I want to cover off in this live stream, because again, it is a bit of a reaction to the Dominic Solanke situation, as well as previewing my team for game week 18. Who to captain? I think Ollie Watkins right now is right up there. If we bring up the fixtures for game week 18 and reference them by difficulty, you can see here Aston Villa top of the charts at home against Sheffield United, Fulham, Burnley at home, another great fixture. Then we have Nottingham Forest, Palace, Newcastle. I would also argue Spurs' fixture is okay at home against Everton. I don't mind that one at all. So for me, I think the answer is Ollie Watkins at home against the Sheffield United team. Yes, Kamara out of the team is going to be a bit of a problem for Aston Villa, but I think more from a defensive perspective and from build-up phases, because he's so important to the team. He's press resistant, but I don't think Sheffield United defensively have the tools available to stop Aston Villa scoring, and that is why I think Ollie Watkins is just the obvious captaincy pick, and I do expect him to be over 100% effective owned. I think he'd be the most popular captain going into the game week 18. Chelsea or Villa defender for Pinnock for the foreseeable future. So again, if we were to look at the fixture difficulty over the next 6 weeks, Villa and Chelsea are right up there. The only problem is I don't really have any confidence in the Chelsea defence, and I don't really know exactly who is going to start week in, week out. I would think Malo Gusto is going to get a good run into the team, because the problem with Chelsea right now is they are playing 4 centre-backs. We've seen it previously, Colwell at left-back, Disasi at right-back, with Badiashile and Thiago Silva as centre-backs. That simply isn't a sustainable model for Chelsea, especially with wingers who aren't really clicking in this moment apart from Cole Palmer. So there's no overlapping runs, there's no inverted runs, it is just a flat 4. However, I know Pochettino, and he tried it in pre-season, he really does like having one overlapping fullback, and I do think Malo Gusto is going to take the reins of that responsibility. And what we'll see in the Chelsea defence is probably Colwell continue to play at left-back because Cucurella is ruled out, obviously, until the new year. Chilwell is still progressing with his rehabilitation. So I think Colwell will remain at left-back, and we'll see the back 4 with Malo Gusto at right-back. And in attacking phases, they will then shift to a back 3 with Levi Colwell playing as a left-sided centre-back. So I think Malo Gusto is the route to go for, but I would want to see a few guaranteed starts from him before investing at 4.1 million. Outside of that, I think Levi Colwell is probably the best Chelsea defender for minutes. Otherwise, Aston Villa, I think, is the place we go. Pau Torres is a little bit of a doubt going into the weekend, but hopefully we'll get some news between now and the deadline on Thursday. Also, I wouldn't be touching Moreno or Digne. I just don't know which one is going to start week in, week out for the teams. Should I sell off Hwang? Don't really think it's a desperate move, but of course, if you need a luxury transfer, maybe you're looking to bring in a Bowen or maybe a Richarlison, I think Hwang could be sacrificed for this game week. But again, I don't think it's a desperate move. Chelsea are certainly not watertight defensively, so I think there is going to be opportunities for them to have chances against this dodgy Chelsea defence, to say the least. Who is the best substitute for Gordon? If you're looking to sell Gordon, I think you start to go towards maybe a Jarrod Bowen. I think long term you know you're going to want him. If we look at the fixtures, United, Arsenal, Brighton, Sheffield United, Bournemouth, United again, I think they're perfectly fine long term. You know he is going to be a guaranteed starter, and he is going to be the talisman of that team, especially even more so once Kudos does go away for the African Cup of Nations. Get Bailey or Richarlison. I love Bailey, and looking at the fixtures, he probably is the route to go for. But again, I don't think there are guaranteed minutes in there right now. He's been fantastic, but he is a little bit injury prone. So I probably would argue that maybe Richarlison is the better pick. So I do think he's going to have more guaranteed game time. Zinchenko first best, -8 points, not bad at all. Hopefully that is going to be boosting your rank, mate. Dan Burn or Pau Torres, again, we don't really know if Dan Burn is going to play consistently, but I think Pau Torres long-term is the route that I would go for. But again, I would monitor the press conferences because he is an injury doubt going into the weekend. Okay, while you guys are putting your chat in here, I want to make sure I cover off my team because I'm conscious that time is going to fly by while we are going through it. For those that are quickly joining the live stream, a quick update. Dominic Solanke points have been voided. Auto subs are going to come into place. That has been confirmed, and the game is going to be replayed later on this season. So we've had an official update finally from both the Premier League and the FPL. Basically, for once, it isn't Fantasy Premier League's fault for the delay. It was all about waiting for the Premier League to announce the game situation, and then they could naturally make a decision on what to do there. Now, I want to discuss my team quickly, a few future plans, and then we will end this live stream with a Q&A, which we've been doing throughout, but definitely want to make sure I focus more importantly on your questions being answered. But let me show you my team for game week 18 to give you a bit of an idea. And spoiler alert, I have already made a transfer on Sunday night. I got rid of Darwin Núñez finally, and I brought in Ollie Watkins. It just made complete sense. Now, I knew there was Carabao Cup games. I know there is massive injury doubts to the likes of Anthony Gordon, for example, but there was no world that I was going into this game week with Ollie Watkins not in my team. I feel a very lucky man that I haven't had him for the 4 weeks, and he hasn't hurt me more than he actually has. And that's speaking off the back of an 11-pointer and a 9-pointer. It could have been even worse. So I feel like I dodged a bullet. He's back in. I don't care what happens, even if I have to take a -4 for my team. He had to be a transfer coming in. So this is how the team's looking right now. I'm really dependent on Anthony Gordon. If it looks like he's available, I'm going to leave the team how it is because I think it's fine. I've got Gabriel to come in as first sub, worst case scenario. I could even have Charlie Taylor as my first sub if I do want to put him in. But Burnley are just woeful defensively. So the team's looking okay, but there are a few question marks. First and foremost, Livramento. Does he actually start? Was benched in the Chelsea game. I don't know whether that's good or bad for Livramento. I'm hoping that he's played his way into the team right now and he is going to play again in game week 18. But with so much money in the bank, I think I have about 8 million, 7.8. It does feel very tempting to take another -4 and simply get a defender that I know I want to have long term, like a Trent Alexander-Arnold or a Kieran Trippier. And kind of accept that game week 17 and 18 is just a bit of mini surgery for my team, knowing that I'm going to be prepping it for the long-term period going into the new year. So I am debating the Livramento situation. And of course, we also have the problem with Gordon. Now, in terms of a replacement for Gordon, I think Jarrod Bowen is right up there as one of the best replacements, but also Richarlison is putting his hand up as an alternative. So a few things to think about in the team, but right now I'm happy to roll with this team. If we get any idea that Livramento could be out of the team or Gordon is out, then I most likely will pull the trigger on doing Livramento to Kieran Trippier. I know that sounds very, very audacious off the back of that performance of Kieran Trippier last night in the Carabao Cup, but I think he's locked in long term for that Newcastle team and a player that I want to have. I know he's had a few dodgy moments, but I'm not expecting him to come out of the Newcastle team. So with that said, let me come into the transfer planner on the official FPL website. For those that are asking about it, this has been built in with the Fantasy Football Fix website, totally free, a Google Chrome extension called FPL. Let me just get it up, called FPL Plus, an amazing Google Chrome extension. Please do check it out. So here's how the team is looking without any transfers. Again, 7.3 million in the bank, 1 free transfer. If we don't get any news, I will roll with this team. And once we go into game week 19, the team with 2 free transfers is still looking pretty strong. I've got a really solid midfield. I've got the 2 that I want in Solanke and Watkins, and also transfers in the bank to maybe start to bring Erling Haaland back in if there are rumours that he is available for the Everton game. Otherwise, it could be the time to maybe make the Kieran Trippier fixture with their game at home against Nottingham Forest. So again, lots to think about with the team. If I was to make the move this week of Livramento to Kieran Trippier, which I haven't ruled out at all because I think he is guaranteed more for minutes, the team would look pretty similar, obviously with another Newcastle defender, but then I would come into game week 19 with only 1 free transfer. But I don't mind that because when I look at my team, I don't really think there are many transfers that I need to make for game week 19. When we look at the ideal fixtures, we got Arsenal at home against West Ham. Well, I already have triple Arsenal, so that's not really an issue for my team. Bournemouth, the only player I want is Dominic Solanke. I already have that. Brentford, I don't really feel comfortable investing in them, so they're not an option. Chelsea at home against Crystal Palace could be a temptation, and maybe Christopher Nkunku does become an option, maybe as a third forward as a replacement for Mabama, and then I maybe look to bench an injured Gordon, for example. So that is definitely a consideration. Otherwise, Liverpool away against Burnley could tempt me, but I don't really feel that inclined to bring in a player right now until Mohamed Salah has left the team and maybe a forward player like a Diego Jota becomes an inevitable transfer. But outside of that, Man City, very difficult to invest in apart from Erling Haaland. He'd be the only temptation for my team. And if I was to do it in game week 19, I think it would have to come at the expense of Dominic Solanke, unfortunately. So it would mean selling Dominic Solanke as well as another transfer, and that would be someone like a Mo Salah. So realistically, game week 19 for me isn't an option for Erling Haaland. I've made my bed, I'm going to sleep in it, and I'm going to stay without Erling Haaland until game week 20 because it just doesn't make a lot of sense in my team. I don't want to sell Son away against Brighton. I don't want to sell Mo Salah away against Burnley. So it makes little to no sense for me to bring in Haaland. I think I'm just going to rely on Sean Dyche putting in a masterclass against Man City and knowing that I can get Erling Haaland in game week 20 at the expense of someone like a Mo Salah or a Son. Because when we look at the fixtures for both of those players, Son at home against Bournemouth, almost impossible to sell him then. And Mohamed Salah at home against Newcastle. I fancy Mo Salah against any team, but Newcastle is one of the few that I don't expect to get battered. And for that reason, I think game week 20 makes a lot of sense to sell Mo Salah and then probably look to then shift him out for a Bowen or a Phil Foden and then allocate the funds into an Erling Haaland. So that is the future plans for my team. Let's deep dive into some more of the questions and then we'll wrap up this live stream because I know people have places to be on this wonderful evening. So, will Pau Torres play? Hopefully we will get some information between now and the game week 18 deadline. Is Gordon out? No information right now, but again, hopefully we'll get something tomorrow before the 6:30 p.m. UK time deadline. Do we bring in Bailey? I've covered that one. Do not bring in Kudos because he will be going to the AFCON, African Cup of Nations, which is obviously going to impact his game time because he could be out from game week 21 up until game week 25 potentially. I'm new to FPL. I started this season. Alex, thank you for tuning in, mate. Hopefully this channel is providing some help to your team. What to do with Darwin? Because sell for Solanke, but those two free transfers in game week 19 look tantalising. Yeah, so Dominic Solanke away against Nottingham Forest, who have got a new manager. Do we need to go there? Probably not, but I'm worried about Darwin Núñez's game time. He is starting tonight for Liverpool. Is that a bad indication for the weekend? Potentially. I don't think it's a desperate transfer out, but I would say to you, if you don't have Watkins, that's an obvious transfer for your team. Otherwise, maybe hold Darwin for one more week and then look to bring in Erling Haaland for Darwin Núñez in game week 19. And is it Samir is saying, currently own Shah, should I sell him or do you think he will play? Also own Gordon, but only one free transfer. So Shah sounds like he could be out for the weekend, but again, I would wait closer to the deadline to see if we do get any information regarding him. I don't think you need to make that move just yet, but if Shah is ruled out at his price point, I probably would look to sell him. And if you don't have a Pedro Porro, that will be my number one replacement right now. Otherwise, Kieran Trippier as a sideways move, I think is perfectly fine. Douglas Luiz, do not mind it at all. I think Douglas Luiz is a good enabler, but what I will say is I'm not huge on his underlying numbers. If we do take a look at Douglas Luiz as an option, again, this is all taken from Fantasy Football Fix, so please do check it out, one of the best sites in the game. If we were to look at Douglas Luiz as an option for based on 90 minutes, Douglas Luiz here, based on per 90 minutes, an XG of 0.28 and an expected assists of 0.12. Look okay, to be fair, considering he's 5.5. However, if we do take a look at the XG per 90 non-pen, it drops down to 0.13. So it basically gets halved. Now, of course, a player at 5.5 million being on penalties is a great thing. That shouldn't be deemed as a bad thing. But do just know, if he isn't getting penalties, he then becomes a very average player at 0.13 XG per 90 with no pens. And when we look at somebody like a Cole Palmer, for example, let's just take him as an example, and we compare the two, non-pen XG of Palmer is double that of Douglas Luiz's. His expected assist is triple that of Douglas Luiz, and also Cole Palmer's on penalties. So there is no debate there. If you don't have Cole Palmer, you get him straight into your teams. Best goalkeeper option for me, I think Bert Leno is a brilliant long-term option. If you want to spend a bit more, Emi Martinez is also a great pick. I think he could be brilliant. If we do look at the bonus points for goalkeepers, I'll be really interested to know where he does rank, because I'm not too sure whether he is one of the best. So if we come to the FPL section here, bring in all goalkeepers. Martinez right now is averaging per game 0.56 bonus per 90. And when we take a look at the actual baseline bonus points, which kind of shows where they start off in a game, he's basically mid-table for goalkeeper. So he's okay for bonus points, and that's the important thing. If we were looking at saves, I don't believe Opta have saves on here, which is a bit of a shame. I don't think it has saves, which is a bit of a shame. No, but I will come on to something on that later on the actual site, so I do apologise. Let me get that back up. What do I think of Gordon to Bowen? I really like that move long term. Yes, something that I'm considering for my team later down the line. What do you think of Newcastle defence with their injuries and then being run into the ground due to the lack of rotation? Don't think they're absolutely essential, but again, it is Newcastle, and we are starting to get the return of Botman and Dan Burn, so we will eventually see Trippier, Shah, Botman and Burn, and that is an elite defence with the way that they do play with one another. Pope being out obviously is an influence. Dubravka, a good goalkeeper, but I don't think he is Nick Pope levels, it is worth noting. Again, those asking about Gordon, I really don't know whether he will be available. My advice would be wait closer to the deadline to hopefully get some information between now and then. Michael saying about Darwin started tonight, which obviously I don't think is a good thing. But again, it could just be giving him more confidence and game time, so they're trying to feature him as much as possible. However, being a Darwin Núñez owner, it was incredibly frustrating. And what was quite interesting, having watched it, I didn't think he necessarily got loads of big chances, which we've become very accustomed to with him. So I am a little bit worried about Darwin Núñez. If you can do Núñez to Watkins, you absolutely do it, even for a -4. Get it done, because Watkins long term is just absolutely essential. When we take a look at the fixtures that Watkins is going to have long term, you can see here Sheffield United, Man United is a good fixture, Burnley, Everton, Newcastle at home, Sheffield United away. I mean, they don't come much better than that. So I think these are brilliant for Watkins, and he is just a long-term hold. To be honest with you, when we take a look at the fixture ticker, I just don't see a situation where we sell Ollie Watkins ever. I mean, it's just ridiculous long-term fixtures all across here. So for me, Ollie Watkins is just a lock for now till game week 38. Palmer in, Gordon out. Yes, I don't mind that at all. I think Palmer is just a player you need to get in, but do be wary. He is on 4 yellow cards, so he is 1 away from a 1-game ban. Whom should I replace Isak with in my team? I have Salah, Son, Gordon, Palmer, Watkins, and Isak. So I think Solanke is not a bad move at all for a short-term punt. Otherwise, it's very difficult right now because forwards are not really that much of a desired position. What I will say is, Nkunku feels a bit of a punt. I think you could go there and try and go early, but sometimes I think there is being early and then there's being really early. And I think Nkunku right now is just maybe 1 or 2 weeks too early, but if you want to get ahead of the curve, I don't mind it. Uproar saying, I've got Areola and Sanchez. Would I use my 1 free transfer to take out Sanchez? Gordon, only other concern? Yes. So I think Sanchez looks like he could be out until the new year. And we don't really know exactly if Areola is going to start. I do like Sanchez to Leno if you can do it. I think then just long term, you've got a good goalkeeper for your team. And the fixtures aren't too bad for Fulham. Tony, yes, the Thursday deadline does feel weird. I'm not a big fan of it at all. Zeb saying best free hit team. Okay, so I haven't actually built one, so I do apologise. But if I was building one, let's come into the transfer screen right now and let's get rid of everybody. I do apologise. I probably should have prepped a free hit team in advance. Okay, so first and foremost, we need to take a look at the fixtures in isolation for game week 18. And let's identify players that I think are absolutely essential. So I think Ollie Watkins is absolutely essential for a free hit team. So he is in, definitely. And I also think if you can allocate a defender into the team, it would be worthwhile. However, because we don't really know which defender is going to start, probably Concert is the safe bet. I do think maybe as a goalkeeper option, maybe going for a Martinez in goal. We saw he's okay on the bonus points. I don't think you're going to have a problem with budget in this free hit team. So I think Emi Martinez could be a good investment. I think maybe you go for a Concert in defence just to have as another, or you go for a Leon Bailey or Diaby. I quite like the idea of going for a Leon Bailey if you want to go there, but of course, Concert at the back is also a safe option. Fulham at home against Burnley. I think the only thing I'll probably potentially look to invest in is maybe a defender, maybe someone like a Castagne. Again, we're kind of spitballing right now, so I do apologise if this team looks a little bit crap. I'm only going off the top of my head. So maybe a Castagne. Forest, I just don't know where I'd go. I'd probably avoid Forest completely because Nuno coming in doesn't really give us any indication who he is going to play. Crystal Palace at home against Brighton. I think there could be goals in that game, but once again, don't feel too inclined to invest in Crystal Palace players myself. Newcastle away against Luton does feel like a good fixture. I think Kieran Trippier is absolutely essential, and I think Gordon has now become not essential with the injury concerns. But I don't think there's another midfielder or forward that I would like to invest in. So I think Kieran Trippier surprisingly will be the only investment in that Newcastle team. Then when we take a look at the rest, Wolves at home against Chelsea, I don't feel like that's a good investment. Bournemouth away against Forest, I think Solanke does make your team. And then it's going to be Spurs. I think Son and Pedro Porro are locked into your team. And I would also argue maybe chucking in a Richarlison, getting him in as a bit of a differential this week. And all of a sudden, the midfield looks quite likely this. Richarlison, Son, Palmer, Salah, Bailey, Watkins and Solanke up top. Trippier, Castagne, Pedro Porro. And when we look at the rest of the fixtures, I don't really get too excited by any of them. So that is probably the bulk of the players I would use as a free hit and then sprinkle other players around it. So maybe a Trent if you just want to go for Liverpool defence. But I don't really back a clean sheet against Arsenal, it is worth noting. -4 for Taylor and Shimakaster, Trent and Concert. Long term, yes, I do like those moves. Garnacho versus McTominay. Also, okay, so Garnacho versus McTominay, I wouldn't go for either. I don't think either are viable options. Also, thoughts on Fulham assets: Robinson, Andreas, Kearney, Iwobi. Wouldn't touch Kearney, wouldn't touch Iwobi personally. I think Andreas is not a bad enabler. I think Robinson is also a decent pick. I've currently got Castagne in this team, but my Fulham defensive knowledge is not as up to scratch as it should be. But looking at the minutes of Robinson, he probably looks like the better investment than a Timothy Castagne. So I would say Robinson is a good investment. In terms of expected goal involvement, it's okay. He had a good spell in game weeks 12 to 14, but outside of that, very limited. So I think Robinson is a good defensive pick if you want to go there for Fulham. Captain, I'm going for Ollie Watkins. I'm almost certain of it going into game week 18. This is how my team is currently looking. I'm likely to go with this, but I could be tempted by a -4 from Livramento to Trippier if we do get a bit of an idea that he is not going to be featuring this weekend. And when I say he, I mean Livramento. Isaac saying brought Concert in for Pinnock this morning. I still have Areola though with Kelly out on the bench. I think you just start Areola and hope for the best this situation. What to do, Areola? Don't have a second playing keeper this week. So I think if you want just a short-term answer, you go by someone like a Bert Leno at Fulham and you just get it done. Otherwise, you take the punt. You hope Areola starts on the weekend. He is starting tonight for West Ham, but we literally don't know whether that is good or bad for Areola's chances. So it comes down to how you value your free transfers. Otherwise, I think someone like a Leno is perfectly fine to pick up long-term. Trent or Trippier? I probably would just lean towards Trippier, and the only reason being is I just don't see many clean sheets for Liverpool over the next few weeks. If we take a look at Liverpool's games, Arsenal at home, Burnley away, Newcastle at home, Bournemouth away, Chelsea at home, I think there could be 2 clean sheets in there. Then it all comes down to the obviously attack and returns of Trent. When we take a look at Newcastle, Luton away I think is perfectly fine, and also Nottingham Forest at home. But then Liverpool, City and Villa, again, I'm not expecting clean sheets over that period. So for that very reason, I would just go for the cheaper option in Kieran Trippier, who plays for what I would argue a better defence. Zeb, no words at all. Cage is saying best 3.9 million replacement for Areola. Now, I don't think there is a viable 3.9 million goalkeeper, so I don't think there is going to be an answer to that one. Turner could be, but we don't actually know whether he's going to make it into Nuno's top team. So you could take a punt, but I wouldn't personally. Outside of that, I don't think there is a 3.9 available. I do apologise, mate. Is Solanke for Alvarez worth it short term? Was thinking to roll the transfer for Haaland in game week 19. Yeah, so if your team can factor in Alvarez on your bench this week, I don't think it's a bad thing. But obviously, if you're playing with 10 players and you have a free transfer, Alvarez to Solanke is perfectly fine. Who to start out of? Saliba, Lascelles, Shimikas, Colwell and Taylor. So realistically, I think you do start Colwell away against Wolves. I think you start Lascelles. And then it's a toss-up between Saliba and Taylor. And in these situations, I just go for the one that's a better defence. And I would go for Saliba personally. Because if they do keep a clean sheet, you know he's definitely going to be in the bonus points, I think. Zeb saying Bailey or Diaby for the free hit. I would go for Leon Bailey. I think his game time is more secure than that of Diaby's. Michael saying start Shimikas or Gabriel. I would go for the better defence. And in that case, it'd be Gabriel. Shimikas has the attacking potential, but I'm not expecting too much from Liverpool defensively this weekend. So I think we're going to wrap that up, guys. I wanted to aim for about a 45-minute live stream, and we've gone for that. So I'm really happy with the timing. Thank God, because I usually run massively over. So I think we're going to wrap this up here. Thank you so much for tuning in. A quick reminder, if you are new, then please do note that the Dominic Solanke points have been voided. Auto subs will come into place, and I'm expecting that will happen probably the next hour or so. You will see your teams have been updated. If you want to check out your overall rank now, do check out the pinned comment I've put in the chat, livefpl.net. Probably the best one to go for to get an update on the situation with the Bournemouth players. My team is looking like this. I've done a transfer already, Darwin Núñez to Watkins, potentially doing Livramento to Kieran Trippier as a long-term plan. That's going to wrap it up, guys. All I'm going to say is thank you so much for tuning in. It's been amazing support over this festive period so far. If you haven't already and you're not a subscriber, please do consider doing so. Try and do my best over this period. And if I can provide any value, that would be awesome. And as I say, if you do become a subscriber and you don't enjoy it, don't worry, unsubscribe. I am not going to be offended at all, but maybe give me a chance for the next few weeks. This is going to be the last live stream before Christmas. I'm going to do a video which will come out tomorrow, but that's going to be a produced video, not a live stream. So all I have to say is have an amazing Christmas. Hope is fantastic. Hope you enjoy it with the family. Have an amazing time. Relax. Take your mind off FPL as best as you can. Come back refreshed, belly full of food, belly full of mulled wine, and we'll get into some of the more streams after Boxing Day, I'm sure of it. So thank you once again. Drop a like on the way out, and I'll see you guys on the next live stream after Christmas. Take care.